Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to the Illuminating Catholics podcast. I'm Dawn Prosser, and I am Director of Communications for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Carmen Bauer. I'm the Director of Faith Formation.
Thank you so much for joining us each week for a new episode, and this one will not disappoint. So history is going to be made this fall right here in the Midwest, not too far from us. I think it's about an 8-hour drive from where we're seated. So on September 24th, Peoria, Illinois' native son, the Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen, will be beatified in St. Louis. So there's really a lot of excitement about this, and we're so excited. We actually have Bishop Tylka of the Diocese of Peoria. He's graciously agreed to be with us and be our guest today and share all the details about this historic event and Archbishop himself. So a humongous welcome to you, Bishop, from us and Bishop Keener and the Diocese of Sioux City.
To be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
We're very excited you accepted our invitation.
So, Bishop, I'm sure you are new to most of us and most of our listeners. So would you be able to take a few moments to share a little about yourself and maybe how you became the Bishop of Peoria, the hometown of Archbishop Sheen?
Sure. I grew up in the far south suburbs of Chicago, and I was ordained a priest for the Archdiocese of Chicago back in 1996. I served as a parish priest for 24 years in Chicago before getting the phone call that told me I was to become a bishop, serving in the Diocese of Peoria back in 2020. So I've been a bishop now for almost 6 years. I was ordained on July 23rd, 2020. Became the diocesan bishop on March 3rd of 2022. I was the lone coadjutor bishop of 2020 and the 20 bishops named in the United States. So basically spent my life as a parish priest. Thought that's exactly what I would do until Pope Francis and the Lord had a different plan for me. And so was humbled and overwhelmed and gracious to receive the Holy Father's appointment, and so blessed to serve in the Diocese of Peoria. It was actually quite interesting. The way I found out I would now be responsible as a promoter for the cause of Archbishop Sheen was on the day of the announcement. I got, as I was waiting for, this is amidst of COVID, so I was doing all these interviews via the computer. I was in my office back at the parish, and while I was waiting for one, as I was checking emails and that, I came across a post on Twitter that said I was now responsible for the canonization cause of Fulton Sheen. So if becoming a bishop wasn't big enough to make my head spin, that certainly did.
God won't give you more than you can handle, right?
Exactly.
Oh, wonderful. So did you grow up with Archbishop Sheen like so many Americans? Have you always been drawn to him and his ministry?
I honestly didn't. I'm the post generation of who actually got to see and watch him and listen to him. I was aware of him. I had seen a few clips here and there and read a few things, but was not a Sheen devotee by any means until I was named bishop. The one who was my father. When I told my father I was going to become the Bishop of Peoria and mentioned Fulton Sheen, he was the one who right away talked about listening to him when he was growing up.
So you said that you found out on Twitter that you would be pushing forward this process, and I understand it was halted around 2019 for whatever reason. Correct. So I will tell you, you've been given credit on Wikipedia for moving this canonization forward, although it's really exciting, and I hope you feel blessed that you get to be the one to to push this all
Again,
forward.
it's a humbling reality these days, as we are in the midst of trying to prepare and plan for the beatification. I do say, be careful what you pray for, because the Lord might give it to you, knowing now that we have all these details of preparation and planning undergoing in a very short period of time to get ready for the beatification.
Well, I can attest you've done a lot so far, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And we work in media, and obviously Archbishop Sheen used the tools at hand, and I know Bishop Barron has also followed that. So it's kind of exciting for us to see that, because we are trying to use the new technology as well, digital and podcasts and so forth. So it was stated that your Archbishop Fulton John Sheen Foundation has a goal of introducing a new generation to the Holy Priest, missionary, and communicator Fulton J. Sheen, and move the church forward to proclaim him a saint. What would you, as Bishop of Peoria, want the new generation, the next generation, even younger than us, about Archbishop Sheen and this canonization journey?
Well, if I could maybe respond to that in two ways. The first way, going back to finding out I was to be the promoter of the cause, I was asked when I would make him a saint, and I said that's above my pay grade. I'm just going to be the Bishop of Peoria. But as Bishop of Peoria, I would always push for the cause to move forward, but I would also make known his life and his legacy. So as soon as all of this kind of sunk in back in 2020, I began to get to know Sheen. I began to read and to watch his programs and to learn about him. And truth be known, anywhere I go, when I say I'm the Bishop of Peoria, it will come back to a conversation about Archbishop Fulton Sheen. So one way that promoting his legacy and introducing people to a new generation to him is we are actively developing what we call the Sheen Experience, which actually I began dreaming about back in 2021. We have a very small museum in our pastoral center. We have many more treasures to share of him, but wanting to have an opportunity for a place for people to come to get to know him and to learn his life story and the significance he has to the church. We are now developing what was his old high school building, the Spalding Institute, which is going to be renovated into the Sheen Experience. Not just the traditional museum type of a building, but really an active building with an immersive experience. So the dream is to use the latest, greatest technology as he did for us to introduce to him to a new generation of folks. If you can imagine, I always use the term of growing up as a Star Trek, Star Wars, type of person, go to the holodeck and say, I want to be on the set of Life is Worth Living, and all of a sudden you feel like you're there. That's really the goal, is to have an immersive experience where people encounter and bring him back to life in a way to, experience his witness of faith. So that's in development, and will come about hopefully in about 2.5, 3 years, as we are working to fundraise for that and bring that to existence. The other way is, what do I want people to really know about him? Well, I want people to know that he was a remarkable man of faith who has centered his life on the Eucharist and his devotion to the Lord, spent an hour every day in prayer before the Blessed Sacrament, and from that flowed all that the Lord gave him to share with the world. He had a remarkable intellect. He had advanced degrees. He was a professor at Catholic University of America for many years, but he was a great orator and masterful at engaging people to reflect upon a relationship with the Lord. And he used that talent first on radio and then on TV to express to the world the truths of our faith. And he spoke with clarity and charity, and he had a great sense of humor, and he was just able to take challenging theological concepts and philosophy and make it accessible in a way that people could relate to and incorporate into their own lives. And so I want people to know this remarkable witness of faith that this humble priest from the north central part of Illinois would go on to literally have world fame because of his ability to share the faith.
I do hope that people take a moment to, if they haven't seen some of the clips of his shows and so forth, just to get a sense of, he was, like you said, remarkable. Just truly somebody that when God created him, he broke the mold. He was so talented, so unique, and so impactful. So I'm excited about your center. I was following that about the construction, and that is going to be amazing, absolutely amazing. So one of the things that we saw, and of course we know if someone's in the beatification process, there needs to be a miracle. Do you want to share a little bit about James Fulton Engstrom and his miracle with us?
Sure. So James Fulton Engstrom is a young man now, teenager, but the miracle baby of Fulton Sheen's advancement to beatification. His parents are very devout Catholics from Central Illinois. They had a devotion to Fulton Sheen. They had planned for James's birth to take place at home. And so when time for delivery came, they had folks there to assist with a home birth. And when James was delivered, there was no heartbeat. And so obviously there was a great concern, and there was a transfer from the home to the hospital in hopes that the doctors may be able to save the child. And during that, James's parents were praying through the intercession of Fulton Sheen. They were telling others to pray through the intercession of Fulton Sheen. And after 61 minutes, when the doctors were ready to simply say that the child did not survive, his heart started to beat and there was a pulse. And so with no explanation as to how this could take place, after 61 minutes, James was alive and well. There's been no residual effects of not having a heartbeat pulse for 61 minutes. He's a normal, teenager who's plays sports and goes to high school and does all the normal things that a teenager does, but also very much aware of how his life is so connected in to this remarkable moment of grace that God worked through the intercession of Fulton Sheen.
That's not a miracle. I don't know what is. That's such a great story. Thank you. I take it you've met James and the family?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's even more exciting that you're just so immersed in this whole process. So as we look forward to Archbishop's beatification, in whatever way you can participate, is there one aspect, because there's so many components of his ministry, is there one thing that you could really shine a light on that you feel is the most impactful in his ministry?
Well, I think it's hard to narrow it to just one, honestly.
Sorry.
But I suppose that I would go back to what he said, which was his most important hour of the day. He made a commitment that he would spend a holy hour each day before the Blessed Sacrament. And from that intimate friendship with the Lord is where he said he received all his inspiration to do what he was called to do as a priest. In fact, when he won his Emmy, he gave credit to his authors, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the writers of the Gospels, which inspired him from spending that time with the Lord each and every day. So I think I would like people to understand how important it is for us to have that intimate friendship with the Lord. When you can, make a holy hour. It's not just for priests, it's not just for religious, it's for everyone. In fact, when Sheen talks about the holy hour, he gives reasons why, but he then talks about the laity's opportunity to encounter the Lord in adoration in a holy hour, before he even talks about priests and religious's time in that special time of prayer. So, as a person of prayer, if you have a deep friendship with the Lord, it helps us to understand that the Lord is always with us. The Holy Spirit then prompts us and moves us from that time to go and do what we're called to do, whatever our station of life, in giving witness to the faith. And so I think ultimately, I guess the thing that I really would like people to take away is that have that relationship with the Lord, foster that through prayer, and then the Lord's going to lead you to where you need to be in your calling to spread the gospel.
Thank you. We talk a lot about the Archbishop using the new media, and I will point out that we're doing this through Zoom. since
Right.
you're not sitting in Sioux City with us. And you talked about obviously electronic means when you were first named bishop during COVID. And also we received an email and a clip of the Pope talking about the influence that Archbishop Sheen has had on his life, that actually your comms office sent out. So I just need to ask, I know it wasn't a prepared question, but how excited were you all that the Pope from Chicago mentioned Archbishop Sheen and his beatification?
That was great news. It was the Holy Father was speaking to the heads of the mission societies from around the world when he went off the cuff and mentioned Archbishop Sheen and the influence he had, because one of the responsibilities that Archbishop Sheen had when he was serving the church was to be the head of the Pontifical Mission Society, and so it was a natural opportunity for the Holy Father, Pope Leo, to mention Sheen as he was speaking with the leaders of mission societies from around the world. And he said, Sheen was a light of faith, basically, that illuminated the calling of us to care for our brothers and sisters, to attend to the Church Universal. And so it was quite a moment to see that clip come through in the morning, and to realize that here he's pointing out that this soon-to-be blessed, who is one of our own, is still inspiring and encouraging people today to look and examine their life with the Lord and how they serve the church.
It was very exciting. Well, I'll try to put a link to that clip in some of our social media and so forth. So just throwing that out there, you've been doing a lot of studying and reading since you were named about Archbishop Sheen. What would he think of us using social media and websites and podcasts like this one to reach people and talk about even his story?
I fully believe that if Archbishop Sheen was alive today, he would be exploring the different forms of media that we are utilizing today. He would do so critically, though, just as he did with the radio and with the TV. He knew the potential for immense good for radio and for TV to convey messages of the faith, but he also knew the potential for immense bad if they were going to be used to not speak the truth, or to spread lies and rumors. And so I think he would be very critical of how media is evolving, and challenging anyone who is using the media to make sure that they are doing so in a way for the good of society, for the good of the world, and for the good of the spread of the gospel, and not just to convey personal thoughts, or certainly disparaging messages about anyone, the church. So I think you would find him on a podcast, or perhaps even on other social media platforms, TikTok and such. But I'm sure he would be using it for the good of spreading the gospel.
Thank you.
I love that reflection and the discernment of how we use those means that we have. That's such a great thing for us to think about and to recall. So the reason, I personally think you don't need a reason to talk about Archbishop Fulton Sheen, but there is a reason why this is a timely conversation. So with the Beatification coming up, can you give us a glimpse into that event and why it will be held in St. Louis?
Sure. So as we began to believe, because of conversations that have been ongoing for a long time, but as we began to believe that we would be moving forward with the beatification, we began conversations on how we were going to celebrate that in 2026. And one of the things that I said as the Bishop of Peoria is that we need to dream big, and we need to realize that Fulton Sheen is not just for the Diocese of Peoria, he's for the world. He's had a worldwide impact because of his witness of faith and the work that he did for the church. And so I challenged my team to think about how we could maximize people's participation. And so That led to a decision to move the beatification itself out of the Diocese of Peoria, basically because we don't have a venue big enough within the diocese. When you look at the history of beatifications that have taken place in the United States over the last 20 years, we've gone from 1,000 to 2,000 to 14,000 to 60,000 for Blessed Solanus Casey up at Ford Field in Detroit back in 2017. And nothing against the wonderful Blessed Solanus Casey, but Fulton Sheen is, I think, a little wider known than Solanus Casey. And so, knowing there would be great interest, we decided to move the beatification from the diocese to a large venue, which is the Dome at the Americas Center in St. Louis, Missouri, where we're expecting 70,000 plus of our closest friends to come and join us for the Beatification Mass, which will take place on September 24th. That being said, we obviously want to draw people's attention to Sheen's home, which is the Diocese of Peoria. And so we have created what we call the Sheen Pilgrimage, which are events to lead up to the beatification and also post-beatification. So in essence, we have one main event in St. Louis, which is the Beatification Mass. But leading up to it, to spiritually prepare, we are going to host a novena of holy hours each night in the cathedral for the 9 nights preceding, starting on September 15th in Peoria. And each night we'll have a reflection given on something that Sheen was important to Sheen. So we're going to reflect on prayer, on education, on the Eucharist, on the cross, the Blessed Mother, the priesthood, because we'll actually celebrate his priesthood anniversary on September 20th. So that night we're going to reflect on the priesthood, his work with the missions, our call to evangelization, and the call of humility and sainthood. So those evenings will be prepared and be live streamed for folks to join us around the world if they'd like. Then once the Beatification Mass is finished, we will return to Peoria for Masses of Thanksgiving on the 2 days afterwards. And so we have a number of Masses scheduled in the cathedral, which is where Fulton Sheen's tomb is. So we expect people will be coming to visit the tomb itself, but we'll have a series of Masses of Thanksgiving, including a number of bishops will be present to celebrate those Masses. And then on Friday night afterwards, we're going to have our first Sheen Gala Awards. Sheen won an Emmy, and we figured, why not have a Sheen? So you can win an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, why not win a Sheen? And what we intend to do is, in this inaugural event, is to begin to recognize folks who are advancing the gospel and the witness of faith that Fulton Sheen did, whether that be through media, work with the missions. I mean, there's so many different aspects of his life that we can recognize. So we're hoping to create an annual event for folks to come and visit Peoria, visit the tomb, but also to recognize individuals. So those are a number of the things that we have in store for the beatification and celebration around it.
Well, that just sounds so wonderful, and I love the spiritual focus there, and it just goes to show that after death, our saints in heaven are even more alive and actively leading us closer to Christ through those holy hours and those Thanksgivings and Masses. So how wonderful, and I'm sure that so many people will participate. Now, going back to the Beatification Mass itself, is there a way that people can attend? Will there be a live stream or broadcasting of this historic event?
So, again, we want to maximize people's participation, so that's why we're in a venue where 70,000 plus folks can gather. We have been working very diligently, but as you can imagine, there are many details to put in place. Our hope is ticketing will open up in the very near future, so people will be able to come in person if they're so inclined, and that they'll be able to purchase tickets through our website portals that'll go up again very soon. Our website is celebratesheen.com, and all the information around all these events is posted there and will be posted as they continue to develop. But as we know, 70,000 people, there's more than 70,000 people interested in Fulton Sheen's beatification. So we are actively pursuing and working with a number of partnerships for being able to broadcast this event. Where folks like EWTN are great partners in this. We're looking for the ability to stream it. So trying to cover all aspects of how we can share this historic and momentous occasion with the world. So I heard one of the folks say that we can probably expect literally millions around the globe joining in for this wonderful moment.
Agreed.
Yes, and we're very grateful for all of the work of you and your staff for handling this with such competency, and I think that'll be very fruitful for so many people. So for those who can't join you in St. Louis on September 24th but would like to come to Peoria to honor the Archbishop and learn more, can you share about visiting the tomb, the cathedral, and the museum?
Sure. So we're happy to welcome all visitors to come and visit. The tomb for Fulton Sheen is in our cathedral, the Cathedral of St. Mary the Immaculate Conception. It's in a side chapel, which we call the Lady Chapel, appropriate for his devotion to the Blessed Mother. And actually, we have just recently completed some renovation work because once he is beatified, his tomb can actually be then used as an altar. So we've done some work to prepare that for those celebrations that will come. We have hours every day for the tomb that we will anticipate increase in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. And then we have currently the small museum in our pastoral center, which is just one block away from the cathedral, and that is open daily as well. If folks are coming with a group in particular, if they're bringing a priest along and want to celebrate a Mass in that, we try to accommodate the groups as best we can, so they can certainly reach out to us through celebratesheen.com and make those arrangements.
And I just have to share that my family took a pilgrimage out there. I believe it was 2019, shortly after his body had been returned, and it was just a beautiful experience for us. So I do hope our listeners, even if it's not around the beatification time frame, I would encourage you to visit the cathedral. It's just beautiful. It's a very peaceful place to visit. So Bishop, before we close, do you have any closing thoughts about making a road trip pilgrimage from Northwest Iowa to Peoria or St. Louis?
Come along and be with us. It's going to be a great moment for the church, and obviously we have a lot of pride in our native son, and we want to share him with the world as he himself shared himself with the world. So we're so excited that this is taking place, and we want as many folks as possible to participate in some way. I would say that it's also important to get to know him and get to know why the church is lifting him up. So I would point out that we will be posting very soon, if not already, on the website resources for parishes to use, whether it be schools, religious ed programs, Bible study groups, just a number of resources for people to explore the life and the witness of Fulton Sheen. If you haven't read one of his books, he wrote 66, so some are much more academic and that, but read one of his books, watch one of his programs, and I say that when you encounter Fulton Sheen, you encounter the Lord through him, and so just spiritually be present and pray for the beatification, pray for all of us who are working on it, and pray for all who will join.
I cannot imagine all the work that's gone behind this. It's seems so well organized, so beautiful. So our congrats to your team, because I'm sure it's on. I just can't imagine putting together. We thought an Episcopal ordination was a lot. I don't think so. We didn't have 70,000 people.
That crossed my mind as well.
Yeah. So, and everything, I think it's fair to say, if we point everyone and put it in the show notes back to celebratesheen.com, that will really open up whatever it is that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
The live stream, the tickets.
That's the main website with all things Sheen.
Okay.
So if you information about hotels, tickets, the beatification itself. Everything is there for the beatification, but there's also a wealth of resources to just get to know and encounter Fulton Sheen.
Wonderful. And Bishop did not ask me to do this, but I will say there's a lot of things on the website: purchasing books, video, Fulton Sheen socks, prayer cards. There's lots of prayer cards. So
I'm actually wearing the official beatification socks. I'm known as a sock bishop, so our friends at Sock Religious have helped us to make official beatification socks.
I'll have to get some for Bishop Keener because he hopes to join you in St. Louis. So thank you so much for this. Has just really been a lot of fun, and talking about such a wonderful leader. I know he was really important to my in-laws, who are from St. Louis and big followers of Archbishop Sheen. So our fellow Midwesterner, the Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, a pioneer in using new technology to communicate and use it for good and to evangelize. He's going to be beatified September 24th in St. Louis. If you can't participate in a pilgrimage this fall, you can certainly visit the museum and the tomb and the cathedral in Peoria, which is the Archbishop's hometown. And we are just most grateful to Peoria Bishop Louis Tylka for taking his time out of his busy schedule to share more about the Archbishop and this exciting beatification in today's episode. Thank you so much.
It's been great to be with you.
So, and thank you all for listening to today's Illuminating Catholics as we shine a light on the upcoming beatification of Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen. New episodes drop each Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, the Diocese of Sioux City YouTube channel, or at lumenmedia.org. Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.